and I've got Ben Fearnley alongside me to run through the card this morning, giving his pick in every single race. So, how are you, Ben?
Yeah, not bad. Glad the wait's over. Obviously, it's been a long few months, hasn't it, waiting for this day, and now it's here. So yeah, hoping that it'll be a profitable day anyway, get us off to a good start.
And the dedication is clear for us all to see, because the bacon butties are being dished out right now, and we're here on Facebook.
We're probably missing them, to be honest, aren't we? Might be slim pickings by the time we get down there, but
no tomato ketchup left for us, I don't think. Why is there always a ration in tomato ketchup? You know, you'd think there's a military operation on bacon butties and there's never any ketchup. So we'll get stuck into the first race on the card, the Supreme Novices Hurdle, and it looks a wide open heat this year. Ballyandy and Mellon are the two principals in the market. Where do you stand on this race?
I'm really struggling to have a bet myself, just because the fact that Mellon is the pick of the Mullins runners. He's obviously been working well at home. He might well have beaten the other two, Bunk Off Early and the other runner, Crackmome. He might well have beaten them in a schooling race. They've said he's had a couple of those. We don't know if he has. We don't know what he's schooled against, but he's clearly inexperienced. I can't back him on what he's done on the track, so I'd have to take him on. But then I'm struggling really. Ballyandy sets the standard, and if I do have a bet, I probably would back him. His Betfair Hurdle win was good. He's proven at the track. He won the Champion Bumper. So he's the obvious one, and if you're doing a play spot, I think he is completely solid to make the frame. Whether Mellon does, improve and a great deal and beats him, that's another thing. But if you're backing him, 7-2 is probably a fair price, isn't it? Really, I don't think there's a great deal else in there to be scared. Obviously, River Wild's been doing everything right, hasn't he? Whether he's good enough for this sort of race, we'll have to see. But yeah, I think Ballyandy's a very solid bet overall.
So Ballyandy for Ben in the first. Moving on to the second race, the Arkle, obviously won so impressive last year by Douvan. We've got another sort in here, Altior, who's a very short price. Can he emulate Douvan today? Would you be taking him on, or are you looking in a betting?
Yeah, definitely wouldn't take him on. Not interested in taking him on. I think he'll win very well. His test, as many people have already said, his test's going to come when he does take on Douvan. Hopefully next season, all being well, maybe even in the champion chase. We'll see if that does happen. The one that I might back is Brian Ellison's runner without the favourite. I think he has a good chance of finishing second. You could also back him each way, is sort of between 20 and 25 to 1, I think, for an each way price. Forest Behan's the horse. He's got some solid form up north, and I think the key in this race will be that he's going to be ridden further back, and he's going to be ridden essentially to pick up some pieces. Charbel's the obvious form danger to Altior, but he's going to be up with the pace. Some Plan's going to be up there, and Altior's going to be right on their tail. So I can see this being really well run. There's probably going to be a few of these that are going to have a shock, really, because they're going to have to be jumping these fences at speed. I just think Forest Behan's going to be ridden with a sort of stalking ride from Aidan Coleman and can pick up some pieces, maybe grab second or third late on. And he's a decent price, I think, against Altior, who should win, but I can't really back him at that sort of price.
Okay, so Forest Behan each way in the second. Moving on to the third, and it's one of the trickiest races at the festival.
Yeah, massive field, isn't it? I probably will be backing a few at prices. I do quite like Ibis de Reux. He's got stamina to prove. He won the Martin Pipe here last season. He's a novice. Novice won this last year on Tomport 2 as a novice. So he's less exposed than a lot of them. The trip is probably the question mark, but he certainly, he's a half brother to Safa de Reux, who does get this sort of trip, and I just think that basically he's had 3 fairly quiet runs. He finished behind Thistlecrack. He's jumped well to date, and he's just one of them that's a bit unexposed, really. Noble Endeavour again he must have a big chance. He fell in the National Hunt Chase last season when sent off for 15-2. He'd previously finished second in the Martin Pipe himself. So he's going to be one that's, you'd have thought a big run is sort of imminent. Vicomte de Noyer, I thought at 40-1 might run okay, might be able to run into a place. I can't see him winning, to be honest, but he could grab fourth. He ran really well and won a Cheltenham, a Grade 3 at Cheltenham in November for Colin Tizard, his first start for the yard. What's interesting about him is that he's essentially just completely unexposed at staying trips. He was campaigned over 2 and 2.5 miles with Henry de Bromhead last year. So he's only had a few starts at this sort of trip. You can always forgive a horse a poor run in the beach over those national fences. And again, although he jumped poorly, the Chepstow Welsh Grand National is a race that you can forgive a poor run in. And I know a lot of these Potts horses, when we were down at Colin Tizard's, he basically said that Cheltenham has been the plan for the majority of the handicappers, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is one. He's probably had this on his radar all season. So I just think he can probably run into fourth maybe if he improves on his jumping, which he definitely will have to.
So 40-1, I think he is at the moment for Conte.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go wild on him. I won't be having a big bet on him myself, but just a few quid each way could give you a run for your money. But Ibis I'll be back in win only probably as well.
Okie dokie. So on to the big one, the Champion Hurdle, and this looks like one of the most competitive races for years. And I think we'll go through in race card order for this. So at number 1 we've got Brain Power, who has been very impressive in handicaps so far this year, but can he step up to this level?
Yeah, I quite like Brain Power. 7-1 now, the price. With the ground having come good, Nicky Henderson's obviously stated that he wants good ground. He's been kept off probably purposely after the Ladbroke. That was a really impressive win. The form looks solid. I think he'll run really well. And I'm not convinced that I'm going to have a bet yet in the race, but if I was going to be, I probably would chance Brain Power. I know he's got to step up. It's going to be a completely different kettle of fish, but the way he's been progressing is pretty impressive, isn't it? And I think that he could go pretty close in what you said is a very open race.
So just to touch on quickly the fact that Brain Power is stepping up from handicaps.
Yeah.
How does this renewal of the Champion Hurdle compare to previous renewals? Is it quite a weak one?
He's, I believe, on Timeform ratings, adjusted ratings, he's on about 171p, and the likes of Yanworth, whose top is I think 179. So that just shows you that he's got. If he improves again another sort of half a stone, then he's going to be well involved. I think this, we haven't got the likes of Faheen, who would be well clear of these on Timeform ratings, definitely. So I think it's a fair renewal. I wouldn't say it's a weak renewal because Yanworth has got some solid form, but I think it is definitely a renewal where a very progressive handicapper could go well. So that bodes well for Brain Power.
Okay, so next in the card we've got Beaver Dare, who originally went novice chasing this year, has reverted back to hurdles and was impressive at Sandown last time out. Yeah,
he was. Didn't really beat anything that day, but you're basically, if you're backing him, you're going on that supreme third, aren't you, last season, which looks a really strong renewal behind Altior, Min in second, and he was sort of held up probably a bit too much, and he was given a little bit too much to do. I'm not saying he would have finished second, but he would have probably finished a bit closer with a more prominent ride. Nicky Henderson stated that the ground's a problem for him, this drying ground. It was good ground officially by Timeform anyway in that Supreme, so I wouldn't be necessarily completely put off by that. But I just prefer the profile of Brain Power slightly to his. But again, he's going to be a big player.
So next in the card, I really apologise for pronunciation, Chitibello, who was stepping up again a little bit, was impressive in Haydock when beating Might and Yours.
Yeah, that was a bit of a strange small field race, wasn't it really? But he'd previously shown good form. He won that good race at Ayr, didn't he, last season? I just think he's basically going to fall a bit short at this sort of level.
Another one who's an interesting type is Cirrus Darius, who won a Timeform race, won the More Battle Hurdle at Kelso in February. Has he got to improve to win this?
He does, but he's a pretty interesting runner, and it speaks volumes that his trainer Malcolm Jefferson has bothered to send him here, because he's always talked about him as a very good horse. He's obviously a very smart novice, and then he had that injury problem or something anyway that kept him off the track. He was really, did nothing wrong when winning the Moor Battle, and the fact that he's now turning up here is really interesting. I mean, even if he falls short, I think that this shows that they've got him back to something like his best. The fact that they've sent him here, they could have found, there's plenty of races in the north and stuff, and graded races that he could have cleaned up, and the fact that they've come to Cheltenham is, quite interesting. But he is 50-1, and you'd probably be looking for him to maybe finish 4th or 5th, and then take encouragement from that going forward.
Next in up is Footpad, got within a length of Petit Mouchoir. Where do you rate him?
I got the impression that day really that he was just ridden to pick up the pieces. I think there was a faller late on as well in that, so he was close to Petit Mouchoir near the line, but I think he's gonna fall short. He might be able to pick up a place, but I think that's the best he can hope for really.
Next up is a really interesting one, Moon Racer. Now he looked to have a serious chance in the Supreme. David Pike teased the fact that he might throw him in the Champion. He has done so. Where do you stand on him?
Yeah, I don't mind his chances here actually. As I was saying, it's a very open race, and that bumper that he won is really solid form. The Champion bumper that he won a couple of seasons ago. He's obviously not really been seen to maximum effect from a ratings point of view so far. He's running small fields and not really got a pace to aim at. He has beaten the likes of Ballyandy, who's franked the form since. I don't mind that option to throw him in this, to be honest. I think he would have run really well in the Supreme, but again, I can see him being really competitive here. It wouldn't be the biggest surprise if he won this, to be honest. So. Yeah, I think a definite contender. Don't rule him out just from a strict ratings point of view, because he's basically not been in races that have allowed him to achieve high ratings so far this season.
So Moon Racer having his first crack at the Champion Hurdle. One who's having another crack at the Champion Hurdle is My Ten Yours, a familiar face. Is he a good each way punt?
I was thinking so. There's been a few rumours about the fact that he might actually make the run-in to ensure that Yanworth and Bouvardere have got a pace to aim at here, which wouldn't be ideal, I don't think. But I can see him running well. As Nicky Henderson stated, if he runs to the same rating as he did when he was second in last year's renewal, then he'll probably win this. There's no any power in here, seemingly, unless one of the likes of Moon Race or Brain Power improves vastly. So I can see him running well. 20-1, he probably is a fair each way pop. He's been quite a likeable horse down the years. He's been a bit disappointing so far this year, but you can see him return to Cheltenham running well, can't you?
So what about Petit Mouchoir? Beat Nichols Canyon over Christmas. How do you rate his chances?
I'm pretty lukewarm on Petit Mouchoir actually. He's won a couple of small field graded races in Ireland. He's not beaten a great deal, and I just think that maybe he's one that is going to be more suited to that kind of race than a Champion Hurdle. I can see him, I don't know, at 10-1. I'll probably leave him alone even for each way purposes, to be honest. I think there's better each way value in the race.
So Royal has been much better this season, but is he a bit out of his depth?
Yeah, he was beaten by Yanworth in the Kingway. He came there travelling best of all, didn't he, that day? Not really sure what to make of that run. I think Alan King was a little bit disappointed, really. I think he had him quite ready for that, and it's not like him to travel into a race and not find much, because that's not a trait of his, really. Could run okay. He's probably just going to fall short. I think he's probably a sort of solid grade 3, grade 2 horse, really, for me.
Now, we've mentioned My Tent as being an ever-present at the Cheltenham Festival. Another one of those is the new one. Is this finally his year? He seems to have hit the bar more times.
Yeah, he has had a few goes now. Again, it's an open renewal and you could make a case for him, but for me, his jumping's probably going to let him down. He has got that X next to his Timeform rating for a good reason. He does make mistakes throughout his races, and I just think that he might give himself too much to do through his jumping. So not for me, I don't think.
11 of 12 on the card is Wicklow Brave. Now he is versatile as they come, running the Melbourne Cup of all things in November. Where do you stand on him?
Could run alright. I mean, he won the county, didn't he, by quite a wide margin, I seem to remember a couple of seasons ago. Again, though, he's going to have to improve probably to get with the likes of the standard setters in this race. The likes of Yanworth, I think he's going to have to definitely improve, and he is getting on in years now, and he's probably had a fair few runs. He's less exposed. He's more exposed than the likes of the Brain Powers and the Moon Racers.
And last but not least, we've got Yanworth, the current favourite. Is his chance obvious?
I think he's got a really good chance. Would be a little bit put off by some of his scratchy jumping. He doesn't jump like a champion hurdler, but I wouldn't be a lot of people have been discouraged by the runs at Wincanton and Kempton, where he was workmanlike. I just think he's perhaps not that flashy, and he gets the job done, and he probably might well do the same today. I think he's the most likely horse to win, but at the prices, I just think Brain Power may be worth chance, and he's sort of double the price now, isn't he? Yamworth looks, I think he's nearing 5-2, isn't he now? So I can see him running really well. He's not a favourite that I'm necessarily itching to take on. I do think he's got a really good chance, but if you are wanting to have a bet in the race, I think Brain Power, perhaps Moon Racer, they're the two that I'd be looking to sort of try and get him beat.
So if I gave you a mythical £5 on the nose and a mythical £5 each way in the champion?
Well, the Brain Power on the nose and Moon Racer each way, I think.
Okie dokie. So from the champion hurdle, we move to the mare's hurdle, and it seems to me anyway in the market that it's between three here. We've got Limini and Vroom Vroom Mag and Apple's Jade. Where do you stand in this race?
It's confusing, this race, isn't it, really? The fact that Walsh has chosen Limini isn't a massive surprise, because the vibes about Vroom Vroom Mag and indeed the way she's run this season so far haven't been that encouraging, especially last time at Doncaster, where she was all out to win that race, and she should really have won it easily, on form, on her best form anyway. She obviously won this race last season. She's going to be there again, and Walsh has already said that he wouldn't be surprised if he made the wrong decision today with that. It's obviously close between them. If I'm going to have a bet, I do think Apple's Jade is probably worth forgiving last time. She might well have needed the run a bit more than they thought. It was a test of speed, really. I think a return to this galloping track, and with a good pace on, hopefully, with the 18 runners, that she can run or give a lot better account of herself. We were talking about her coming into this season as a potential champion hurdle horse, weren't we? After that demolition job at Aintree, she's got form in the Triumph. Obviously last season she was second in that. I think that she's a decent bet, to be honest, and 9-2 or so now, that's looks to me like a good each way bet to nothing if that's your sort of bag, because on form there shouldn't be too many that are going to sort of get ahead of her and beat her into the places. She might well find one of Limini or Vroom Vroom Mag, or even both of them, too good, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if Vroom Vroom Mag just didn't run a race here, to be honest, after the sort of vibes and what happened last time, and the fact that Walsh is on Limini. So I think she's really, really solid each way bet to nothing, and she might well win. That's Apple's Jade. Pretty keen on her, really.
So Apple's Jade in the mare's hurdle for Ben. We move on now to two more handicaps, and you've written a column for the microsite, which you can go and check out. I'll put the link in the description after. And you're in Nat territory here for the 4 miler. Who are you with?
Champers on ice. He's got plenty to find on the figures, even on ratings at this stage, with some of these. But essentially, I just don't think he's been seen to best effect at all this season. He was third in the Albert Bartlett, a really attritional Albert Bartlett last season. He's clearly going to relish this sort of trip. For me, this has always looked his ideal race. Ever since he was a good staying on second behind American at Warwick, I was really surprised to see the money come for him last time at Cheltenham when he was making his handicap debut, because basically 2.5 miles is not really what he's going to be most effective at on what he's done to date anyway. So it was interesting to see that. They obviously thought that he was well handicapped, and some people are disappointed to not see him in a handicap, but I think this race is ideal. He's got cheap pieces back on. They were on for the Albert Bartlett. That's the only time he's worn them. They gave him a bit more zest that day and allowed him to travel a bit more strongly and up around the front of the pack, really. So I'm hoping they do the same thing today. And yeah, I do think he's a decent bet. It's obviously a wide open race. There's 18 runners. Loads of them are unexposed at the trip, and they're all novices. So it's not a race to be going wild in, but I think that he's a good bet.
So Champers and Ice, Ben's nap of the day in the 4 miler, and the last but not least, it's the Close Brothers Novices Handicap Chase, another toughie. Where do you stand in this one?
I quite like two Taffs in this. He was progressive as a hurdler. He progressed with every run last season. It was really sort of encouraging to see from a ratings point of view, and he looks all over a chaser. So he's going to improve for the step into this sphere again. You'd have thought his chasing debut when he was second at Kempton in a warm novice is really solid form. He's not been seen to best effect since then. You need 3 runs to qualify for this race, so I got the impression that basically he was just he'd run really well, and then they were finding races for him that weren't going to blow his mark essentially, and that Catterick race was one of them, because it was he was miles clear on ratings. He didn't win. He looked a little bit tap for toe, but you can forgive that. The winner got a good ride that day, and then he was hampered at Warwick as well. He was hampered on the home turn and had no chance of really getting near the front 2 that had gone clear. So I think he's a good bet. Davy Russell on for the first time, and again he's got cheek pieces. Maybe just allow him to travel with a bit more zest this time. I think it's absolutely wide open, isn't it? But he sort of near a double figure price. I think he's a good bet.
Okay, so 2 taffs in the final race, and that's everything for us. So cheers, Ben. Thanks for that.
No problem.
It'll be Adam Brooks tomorrow. So
hopefully get one winner or 2 from those anyway.
Fingers crossed.